Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing this evening? Welcome, welcome. Let me just turn that phone off so we don't have any disruptions at all. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another free masterclass. My name is Annette Conrad and I'm the owner and lead creative for Edible Impressions. And I could not be more excited about hand lettering take 2. So for those of you that had joined me and one of my lead decorators, Sylvia Schwartz, a couple of weeks ago on April 27th. So if you had not had the opportunity to watch the replay, I do encourage you to go take a peek. We sat together and went through hand lettering. So tips and tricks and all the different types of techniques to hand letter on your cookies. And when Sylvia's here, she'll be monitoring the Q&A. I'll do a proper introduction momentarily. But what happened is when we had presented that masterclass, we did not have a lot of opportunity to talk and show the use of a projector. So there were a lot of comments afterwards, there were a lot of questions, and I thought, what better next masterclass to offer you is to talk about the use of a mini projector. So perhaps you are thinking about purchasing one, maybe you have one, but you're not sure how to get started. Maybe you're just interested to see, how they work. So we're here to kind of give you a little glimpse on how to hand letter and design cookies with the use of a projector. So let me just back it up a little bit before we dive in. I want to welcome everybody and thank you so much. It looks like there are a bunch of folks already hopping on, so thank you so much. I want to welcome all of my private Facebook group community members. We have a great group and it's growing by leaps and bounds. So thank you so much. I want to welcome those folks. If you're not part of my community, I do welcome you to join my Facebook group, and it is free. It's called Cookie Decorating Hobby to Business 101. And that's a place where I get to share all my love and passion for all things decorated cookies. And I also get to share my event planning experience. I get to talk about how I literally transform my hobby into a profitable nationwide business. So Edible Impressions is woman-owned. We are family-run. If you want to learn more about my business I started over 17 years ago, I welcome you to visit the website, which is edibleimpressions.net. And like I said, I could not be more excited to visit with you today about the use of a projector. So hopefully we will, smash some of those myths and give you a little bit of a sneak preview. So if you are just getting started, or maybe you are either a beginner or an intermediate, or maybe you feel like you're advanced, maybe you'll learn something new. And I'm constantly learning. So I did some research for this tonight. So I am also still learning. So I have Sylvia here. She's kind of off camera, but she's going to be here. There she is.
Hello.
So for those of you that were with us April 27th, we had so much fun. So Sylvia Schwartz is my sister. She's my most seasoned decorator. We've been working together for many, many years, and we've just been having a ball. I finally got her to come on these Facebook Lives. So she, again, is going to be a little bit off camera, only because I'm taking up a lot of space tonight, so with the projector. So hello. So maybe as I'm continue with the intro, I'm going to have her just kind of scroll through the feed so far and see where everybody's tuning in from. If you're not familiar, Edible Impressions is located just north of downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So welcome to my bakery. This is the lower level of our production space. And if you could just kind of imagine for the next hour that you're sitting here with me at my bakery table with Sylvia and I. So awesome. So
we have someone from Ohio, California. Welcome.
Excellent. Let's see. New Jersey,
Texas,
hello.
Omaha.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. We're really excited. And, when I first started the group, I was, I always talk about quality, not quantity, but I'm really glad that the community is growing, because I think the more people you have in a community, the more diversity you have, the more ideas and suggestions and scenarios, and the more we can share with each other. So I really do appreciate those that are in the community, and I welcome everyone and all to join. Again, that's the Facebook group is called Cookie Decorating Hobby to Business 101. Okay, so if you are ready to dive in, we have a lot to cover. So I am going to just give you a little sneak preview of my tabletop view. So I have this wonderful secondary camera. So you can see I have some of the bits and pieces of my projector, but I wanted to be able to talk with you about the stand, the projector itself, the cords that are all involved. So you're going to see me actually put it together. So just to give you an idea.
Getting some backup that the video keeps pausing.
Oh, thank you. You know what? This happens occasionally, and it's very selective, and very few people have this issue. So I apologize for that. It's not something that I can control. It tends to happen at the very beginning of my broadcast for some reason, but typically the majority say that there's no problem. So what I would recommend is perhaps closing your browser and then coming back in and joining again, or backing it up. For it to be able to buffer. I'm not being that tech savvy here at the moment, but folks have had a little luck with that. So closing it out and then joining back in. So thank you for your patience with that. And I will also mention, if you are here but you're not able to stay for the full duration, this will be recorded. So yes to the replay, and hello if you are watching the replay. Thank you so much. So comment below if you are watching the replay. Appreciate that. All of your questions that we do not get to tonight, with Sylvia's assistance, we'll try to answer as many as we can. I promise you, post-event, I will go in and answer those questions for you. Okay, so very, very quickly, a very quick summary of our first hand lettering masterclass that was, again, back on April 27th, and that too was at 6:30 Central Time. All of the Wednesday masterclasses are at 6:30 Central Time. So really, really quickly, why do you want to hand letter on cookies? It really differentiates yourself. You can, it really up levels your skills. It offers some creativity. So there's lots and lots of reasons. It personalizes it, makes it meaningful, memorable. There are many reasons why people avoid hand lettering, and I think that there's many reasons why people avoid using a projector. So I'm not going to go into all the reasons why folks avoid hand lettering. Please go back and watch the replay. There are many, many techniques to actually hand lettering. So we're going to showcase using the projector. So I've got my little stand over here. But I'll tell you, from that last class, the most popular technique that we covered was the tissue paper technique. Would you not agree, Sylvia?
Oh, definitely.
The tissue paper technique.
I think it's the easiest one as well. So if you're just learning, that's a good starting place.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to show that, but I do encourage you to go watch that. You can even fast forward if you'd like. If you don't want to watch, I think we were on for about a good hour and 20 minutes, but the tissue paper technique very quickly is just what it sounds like. It is, you have your cookie that's pre-frosted. You have a piece of tissue paper, food grade tissue paper. You'll need an edible pen. You basically trace your image or your design on the tissue, and then you take that tissue, put it over the cookie, and retrace it. What happens is that edible ink penetrates the tissue, and then it leaves that design on your cookie. So it's really, really cool. If you don't have a projector, that is a great alternative to getting a design or lettering onto a cookie. So like I said, there are, I think, 11 different techniques, but moving on, because we've got a lot to cover. Let's see if there's any immediate questions right out of the gate here.
It's all for the restart. Just hello from all different areas. Indianapolis, Ontario, Colorado. We can't get to all, but welcome to everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is fantastic. Okay, so I will just ask how many people have a projector? So if you could just comment, do you have one, or are you thinking about purchasing one? I just want to kind of get a little pulse check for the folks that are on live right now. So you may have heard of mini projector or pico projector. Basically, pico means small, so miniature. And the projector that I'm going to showcase today is the mirror. Not sure if I'm even saying that right. But a fascinating thing here. This is my second projector. Actually, no, I take it back. This is my third projector that I've used. I'm going to go through. Oh, I don't know what you did here. Hold on 1 second. Sylvia's pushing buttons over here.
Just enlarged it, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how to get back. That's okay.
Oh.
Okay, no problem. It's just overly large on the screen. That's okay. All right, so this is actually my third projector. The first one that I had was called a copy cake machine, and it's kind of, if you think back to old school, it's more like an overhead projector. So, and post-event, I can put some visuals in the guide so everybody can kind of see what they actually look like. But, and then I also had a LED Pico projector. And I'll talk about that one because I really wasn't a big fan of that one. And the brand that one was the Magasonic LED Pocket. And the reason I didn't like that one, it was a mini one, was that you had you couldn't use it when it was charging. Okay, so you couldn't use it when it was charging. So, but anyway, this is the one I'm going to be showcasing here. But before we get there, what are the reasons why you'd want to use a projector? I think it's really important just to really quickly touch on that. And then we're going to get into actually demonstrating the use of the projector. Boy, Sylvia, I don't need my glasses anymore. The screen is so big. I wish you guys could see this. Anyway, just a little sampling of the fun that we have.
There is one person I think you'll get to later that has a copy cake.
Oh, perfect.
As opposed to projector.
Yes, and I'll talk about the copy cake, the pros and the cons to that particular brand. But I tell you, I had it for years and I loved it. And but you grow and you expand your business and you try to find tools that are going to allow you a little bit more efficiency. So I'll get to that. But first of all, a couple of the reasons that you want to use a projector is that it definitely can increase your penmanship. So I don't know about you, but my penmanship is not very good on pen and paper. But for some reason, when I'm on a cookie, like I freehanded this cookie here that says love. Again, I was able to do that because it's a lot of practice. So, but I still do use my projector quite often, especially if I want to size and scale. So we'll show that. But definitely it helps for consistency. Especially, I do use my projector when, let's say, for a wedding or for a bridal shower, something that is maybe a special corporate event that you really want to have that consistency from cookie to cookie. And it's faster if you use the projector. So those are a couple of the things. You can draw and pipe essentially any design. So it's really fun. It is faster. Hey, Lizbel. Sorry, I happened to just take a peek over here. Hey, Barb. Miss you guys. Can't wait to see you in person sometime soon, hopefully. Anyway, so it's faster. It's easier to trace than it is to freehand. I think there's definitely an opportunity for you to be able to be a little bit more creative because there's so many amazing creative letterings out there and fonts that, most people are not that savvy. Most people don't have that natural ability to do calligraphy or all these beautiful fonts. So I'm just always amazed at how many there are. So that offers that opportunity. And really it is great for those that don't know how to freehand or not very confident. Maybe their hands are shaky. So having a guide to follow with the use of a projector actually can make your handwriting look much, much better. And it's great for logos and for characters, but we're going to talk about branded characters. Beware of branded characters or protected characters. But if there's intricate designs or images, it really does help for you to be able to get down to that fine detail. And then honestly, it up-levels your skill, your decorating. And what that means when you up-level is that you can have a higher profit margin for your cookies. So there's an opportunity to raise your prices a little bit if you're going to do that personalization, if you're going to do that hand lettering. Because in the reality, it does take longer than simply decorating a cookie. So
Barb had asked about stenciling, which we went through on the previous class just briefly on it. So you could go back to that class and take a look at that on stenciling.
yes, for sure. So go back to April 27th. You can see all of the archived events under the events tab, under edible impressions, or in the community, the Facebook group. So it's in there in both areas. And you can watch the replay there. I didn't actually show stenciling. It was very, very quick. It was very quick.
Yeah.
So perhaps that's another future masterclass. There's so many. I literally could do one for every single technique. So if stenciling is something that you're all interested in, definitely send me a DM or put that in the chat, and then perhaps that could be a future masterclass. But yeah, stenciling is a lot of fun, but there are definitely some techniques to not getting frustrated, because stenciling can be very frustrating. You can go through a lot of cookies if you don't have the right consistency of frosting. So, okay, and now let's talk really quickly before we dive in is, why do people avoid using a projector? Okay. There are lots of reasons. And like I said, whenever I prepare for these, I do a little bit of work behind the scenes. So I want to be able to just share with you as much as possible. And so I kind of polled a little bit, and I went through and looked for the struggles and the challenges people have with using a projector. And there was a good list of struggles, and some of these I also struggled with in the beginning. And so hopefully by the end of this masterclass, you will have more confidence and you won't be afraid. Actually, someone said they were afraid of their projector. Isn't that funny? So don't be afraid. It's a fantastic tool. It's kind of like, riding a bike. You're really scared you're going to fall off that bike. You're going to skin your knee. But then, man, it's like once you get it, you just want to keep going. You just want to keep going. So, yeah. So So some of you are thinking it's not worth the investment, okay? And I'm glad you say the word investment. It is an investment. It's not an expense. So keep that in your mind. You're going to hear me talk about that a lot, especially when I do my every other Wednesday masterclasses. I tend to focus more on the business side, transforming your hobby to a business. And I always talk about how you're investing. You're not necessarily spending. So keep that in mind. Maybe you're not sure which one to buy. Maybe you have one, but you have no idea how to set it up. Like I said, someone had mentioned they had one since February. It's still in the box and they're kind of afraid of it. So some people have issues with their hands getting in the way. I'm going to show you a little tip and trick on how to avoid that. Maybe your hand is a little shaky. Getting the right consistency is really important, and I have some consistencies to show you here. You can possibly have cratering. You can have the letters chipping off, which is very frustrating, possibly color bleed. So, really, there are lots of things that can go wrong, but if you just practice and you have a little bit of help on the consistency and technique, you are just going to love this machine. So it's kind of like my tape dispenser. I have to bring this baby back here. I think this is going to be all like every masterclass. When I discovered this tape dispenser, it just made me smile. So I'm hoping that your projector will make you smile. And if you're wondering what that is, again, go back to that last class. We don't have time to go over that right now, but it basically will close your decorating bags in a pinch. They're awesome. Okay. And then here's the last one. It's a big one. Fonts, sizing, and scaling. I think those are the three. And I think Sylvia may have a comment about that.
Well, speaking of fonts, someone asked, where are you finding the fancy fonts on Instagram? One other, I think that was Lisa's question, and someone already responded, Kim did, saying DaFont online.
Yes. Yep. DaFont. It's DAFONT.com. So you are able to utilize that website to be able to pull fonts off there. I use, there's two other ones I'll mention, and I'll actually I'll show you, is Fonto, which is P-H-O-N-T-O, Fonto, P-H-O-N-T-O. And then there's another one which is called Space Font. Is really good too. So there's a number of them. What you want to make sure is that you have the rights to use those fonts. So pay attention to the fine print. You may have to pay a small fee. So just be very careful for that. And that really goes to all designs. You want to make sure that you're giving due credit to those artists that came up with those designs. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So yeah, DaFont, you can download fonts. So that one's really good. Okay, so popular brands, very, very quickly, and I will post this in the guide section. So do your research. There are many, many, many different mini projectors, and they honestly come in a wide range of prices. I mean, as inexpensive as $10. Okay, that one's not really a projector. It's a drawing tool, which I'll describe in a moment, all the way up to $340, $350. So there's a wide range of projectors. Now, the one that I'm using today was about $99. But here's the thing, and Sylvia and I were talking about this right before we went on here, is the projector comes with a charging cord, but it does not come with an HDMI cord, or you might need what's called a lightning adapter. This is for an iPhone, or you might need one for the Samsung. So there are additional costs above and beyond just the projector and the charging cord that comes with it. Additionally, you're going to want to get yourself a stand. Now this stand, I will also put in the notes after. This was about $18 on Amazon. So a lot of the projectors will recommend a stand, and this one is extremely popular. I think most people have this one, and I'll demonstrate it here momentarily. So that stand is really lightweight, but it's sturdy. It's really good. So the Kodak Luma probably is the 150. I think is like the most popular, and it kind of fascinates me. So here's a little gold nugget for you. That one is $332. $332. And what I find with that one is it has some fancy features. Definitely it's high quality. It's a brand name. It has built-in speakers. So I guess if you're listening to music while you're decorating, that's a bonus. It has, of course, the illumination is going to be really good. But let's get real here, folks. If you're just needing a projector to decorate cookies, think about, do you really need all those fancy features? You may or may not. Maybe you are going to use your projector to watch movies outside. This one I could project onto a wall or take it outside. Probably not the best quality for a large viewing, but for me, for the purpose of cookies, it works absolutely perfect. There's also, I'm not going to rattle off all the different, I mean, literally there are like 12 top rated mini projectors, and what it comes down to are the features that you want to consider. So do your research, read the reviews, and use the communities. I'm involved in several cookie groups, of course my own as well, which is Cookie Decorating Hobby to Business 101. So please join me there and the community there. I'm also a moderator for another beginners group, and ask out there, get other people's opinions, and when you go to those groups, use that search field and just type in projector. So that'll take you right to all the conversations that have been taking place in the past in that group. So, but it is always nice to put that in there as a new question too.
I will add that, when she said all different projectors do different things, I bought mine with the thought that, yes, I wanted to project movies and I can do cookies. I find it more cumbersome to do the cookies. I mean, it's great for movies. But hindsight, I wish I would have picked one that is more easy and benefits me more for doing cookies as opposed to the movies.
Mm-hmm. Right. And the projector I have here, I did see someone post that the Luma 150 is super bright in a lit room. This one works really well. And I'll take us, Sylvia, back to the time where we used the copy cake machine. That one, this is maybe a good time to talk about that one, because that one you need a dark room. It has a light bulb. It has an opening where you put the piece of paper with the design. You have to make sure that the size is right. That light bulb can get pretty hot. But I always remember that, okay, when someone needed to use the projector, it's like, everybody turn the lights out. And so, that's okay. But surprisingly, I also looked up the price, and I was surprised that knowing that there's all these other options, that price for that copy cake is still up there. It's a couple $100s. So, so this one is going to run you about $99. There is also, a lot of folks are using what's called a smart sketcher. It's actually kind of a kid's toy, not toy, but projector. And that one's going to run you right around $69, $75. And I see a lot of positive, reviews about people really enjoy it. But I think when you get into higher volume and you've decided that this is going to be your livelihood or it's going to be your side gig, you're going to bring in some extra cash flow, you want to get the right tools for the right job. So you might want to invest in a little bit nicer projector. But don't get sucked in just because everybody has that one. It's the most expensive one. The most expensive does not mean it's the best, okay? Keep that in mind. And like I said, I use the copy cake. I use the Magasonic LED pocket. It's the white one, kind of the rectangle white one. I did not like that one. That one ran me $150, and I remember the cords were another $80, $90, and I could never use it when it was plugged in charging, and that was really kind of annoying. So I use that as my backup, but I've never had to pull it out since I have this one. This has just been awesome, and I've had this for many years now. Okay. So last thing really quick, and then I'm going to start putting this bad boy together here, is some of the features is the image size, the brightness, the energy use, the resolution, illumination, battery runtime is something to look at. Of course, the warranty, the portability, and the price. So there's lots of things you want to look at, but my best advice is, figure out what other people are using, read the reviews, and then just pull the trigger on it and just go for it. So, yeah. All right.
Okay. That
was a mouthful. Let's get started. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you all the bits and pieces that go with putting this projector together. And then I'm going to get right to it. We're going to do some decorating. I've got some frosting here. I've got a couple designs I'm going to show you.
Do you want to just say one more time the projector that you're going to be using tonight? Two people have asked.
Oh, yes. So I'm going to be using, let me just give you a close-up here. This is the projector I'm using, and it's called Miroir. Excuse me.
Miroir?
Miroir?
M-I-R-O-I-R. Boy, that's a
yes, mouthful. Yes. Okay. So that is a mouthful. But yeah, so if you just want to write this down, just pop that in, mini projector. Like I said, I think it's roughly around $99. It comes with a charging cord. And then what you also need to purchase is I'm using mine with my iPhone and iPad, so I needed to purchase this lightning adapter, and this one is about $45. So, and then an HDMI cord, which allows me to plug this one into the projector. So you can see that this allows me to connect to my phone or my iPad. This is going to connect to the projector. Okay. So let me
Julie
move.
says she's got a Magnasonic.
Magnasonic.
That you can use while it's plugged in.
Wonderful.
So
Well, I had mine about 8 years ago, so maybe they have changed it, but I tell you, I could not get that thing to work when it was plugged in. It would not let me turn it on, or I could turn it on, but then it would just shut down automatically. So I got so frustrated with it that I just said,
Linda has one that has Bluetooth, no cords needed.
nice.
So I think a lot of it is
Yeah,
just
a lot of-
researching
exactly,
what you're
exactly.
looking for, as well as cost.
Right, right. So I'm going to go ahead and like I said, there might be a more efficient way. You might have a better projector than me, but I'm happy with this one. And so what I'm doing is I am just screwing it on this stand is really fantastic. So it's about $18. I got it on Amazon. I think it suggested it after I purchased this one. It said, hey, people bought this, they bought this. So I thought $18, why not? So it has an extendable arm up here. This floats down flat, so it's very compact. So I'm just going to turn it this way. So what you want to do, of course, the lens is aiming down. Okay, I've got I don't need it to plug it in because I think I do have it pretty well charged, but this is where I would plug my extension cord. So we'll see.
Do you know if the stand has any particular brand name to it?
I do. Hold on.
Okay. Because I purchased a different projector, and when I was online, it also recommended that stand for the projector that I have as well.
Yes, here. I'm going to have Sylvia type this in. So type it in right there, Sylvia. Give me one moment here. Oh, here it is. It's called Photocopy Pico Projector Stand. $18. So right here. So she's going to type it in the comments. And then if you want to type in this one too, Sylvia, the one that I have, the mirror. It's the M75 portable projector is the one I have. So it's right here, Sylvia.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's going to type that into the comments right now. So you have that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take my HDMI cord and I'm going to plug that into the top up here. And what I like about this projector is that, there's nothing to it. It has an on-off button. It has volume, so there is a speaker in this one. It has a volume up, volume down, and then a focus. That's it. So yeah, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles like some of the other projectors have. This is not really meant to show movies and things, but it works perfectly for my use of decorating cookies. So I'll show you a couple of the cookies that I use the projector for. This little guy here, I'll talk about him and actually demonstrate. I also use the projector to use an edible marker to make this little guy here. And then I actually freehanded this one, which I can talk about too. But we'll show you a couple different things you can do here. Okay. All right, so now that I have and I'm sorry I don't have you can't see the top of it. So every once in a while I'll just go back up here so you can see my HDMI cord, rechargeable cord. And then I'm going to use the iPad only because, I like the iPad. It offers a larger screen. It offers a larger viewing window. You definitely can use your phone as well. Okay. So that is pretty much, I'm set up ready to go. So again, HDMI is connected to my Lightning adapter. It's connected to my iPad. I'm going to turn my power button on here on the side. I'm just going to hold it down. And you can see now that it shows up. It literally will automatically find whatever is on my, of course, as it opens up here. So now it's showing my computer screen right away. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the different fonts. So, and how you actually get an image. So let's just start, I'm going to go to my photos here first. And I think I'm going to use my little puppy here as an example to start. So the reason I'm starting with this one is I just want to show you the difference between using your photos and then using an app or a tracing app. I use Lucida. It's $6.99. You don't have to have that app to use your projector, as you can see. Now, this projector does not allow me to flip the picture. Some of them do, but that doesn't bother me because I use the app Camera Lucida to import that picture in there, and then I can turn it, I can size it, I can scale it, I can make it transparent. It's really a nice app. And you can actually use that app without a projector. So if we have time at the end, I'll display that. But right now, I really want to get to some of these other things. So what I'm going to do here is, this is a picture I have in my photos. And I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot of it. And I'm going to then go to Camera Lucinda. So maybe you can type
Lucida.
that. Lucida. I'm sorry, I always say Lucinda, but it's Lucida. So she's going to go ahead and type that in. DA, Camera Lucida, Camera.
Oh, Camera Lucida.
Camera Lucida. So if you go to the App Store, okay, she's typing under my name. I'm starting to have an issue with this because she's not typing it properly. Okay, Camera Lucida is so under the app stores where you can download it. And I believe it's $6.99. So lifetime access to $6.99. So it's basically an artist tool that you can use for tracing and all sorts of things. Literally, I use it for, I know very few features on this, but basically what you do is once you open the app, you go to the little library here, which is going to allow you to pull up your camera roll. And then you can pick any of your pictures in your camera roll. So I've got my little puppy here. And so now what happens is I can turn it, I can size it, I can make it bigger. I can't do that in my photo camera roll on my phone or my iPad. So I hope you follow me there. You can't, you can pinch it, but it won't stay big, and you can't turn it upside down and turn it. That's why I use that app, okay? So you can see, and I do have a cookie here, and I do have a couple samples I want to show you here. So I used an edible marker for this, and I just went ahead right away with my icing bag for this one. And so this turned into this, which then I flooded and added detail, and it eventually turned into this guy. So yeah, could I freehand this? I probably could with my experience, but I was making 40 of these. So when you high volume, it's just going to be faster if you have the tools that help you go faster. And then this was for a wedding, and I also wanted them to be consistent. So that's why I decided to use the projector for tracing, flooding, and then even coming back and doing the detail of this puppy's face. I wanted the eyes to be in the right place and things like that. So, but this is a really good example. So you can see now, here's the puppy, but you can see that I need to make it a little bit bigger. And I'm just going to make it even a little bit bigger so you can see that I'm actually making it the exact size of that cookie. So do you see that? So now I can, and sometimes these cords get in the way here. So I'll just show you and demonstrate. Some of you struggle with, your hand getting in the way. I'm actually going to turn this to the left, and I'm actually going to, by turning it on an angle, that might help you. Then your hand is not in the way. So first I'm going to demonstrate with a marker, because when you use a marker as opposed to a piping bag, you can be off to the side where your hand is not covering up the image. So I'm going to go ahead and I can even make it just a hair bigger. So when I do this, I kind of like to leave some of the cookies showing. This is not a very good marker. I'll use the green one so you can see it a little bit better. I just use the, I just use the image as a guide. So I'm not, going exactly. And right now I just want to get the outside of that cookie. So I'm giving myself just a little bit of a guide of where I'm going to outline and flood that cookie. So it will look like this when you're done. And then now I can go ahead and fill and flood. So just wanted to show you that very quickly, that you can either use an edible marker or you can go right away with the frosting. And maybe I'll show that to you with the frosting right away. Now I'll take a new cookie here. So the consistency is really, really important. So I do want to be able to show that to you. And I have a bag ready to go, but I also have some in a container so that I can show you.
Did you get your projector on Amazon?
I did, yes, I did purchase it on Amazon. So I want to show you the consistency of the black that I'm using to outline this puppy. And this cookie was made with 3D printing technology. We make our own cookie cutters here. And so I actually purchased the rights to this image first, and then we made the cookie cutter. It actually looks just like my grandpa Maui. It looks just like her. I love it. I love it. So you can see, look how thick this is. So this is piping consistency. Now we're going to do some hand lettering here in a moment, and that hand lettering is going to be a little bit looser than this. But I like this piping technique or this consistency, because you can see with my design, I actually wanted those lines to form. It kind of gave it a nice little puffy look to it. So if you're not interested in having those outer lines showing, then you're going to want to loosen this up a little bit. But this is the consistency that I have in this bag right here. So it's pretty thick. And I'll just demonstrate so you can kind of see what it looks like. For those of you that are new to these tipless decorating bags, I also do have number 1.5 tips and number 2 tips. So it really comes down to personal preference if you like to work with the tipless bags or the metal tips and couplers. So I'll show one of those here momentarily. But
Linda wanted to know about the image. The image did start as a line drawing.
Correct.
It was an image she purchased.
Yes, yes. So here's the thing, which is a nice little pro tip here for you. You know, there are so many cookie designs out there, and you want to be unique and different. So yes, it's fun to, I see things trend all the time, like I think for Easter, everybody was making those deviled eggs. Oh my gosh, they were everywhere. Like they look like deviled eggs, but everybody was doing it. Try to be different. And so what I would recommend is, that's the first place I go, is I look at coloring pages or line drawing, or when I take a walk, or when I go to the craft store, I try to look for, different unique designs and then make it my own. A lot of times I'll just change a little bit of something to make it my own, but then it's unique to you and your business. So, do that if you can. Just challenge yourself a little bit. But yeah, line drawing, coloring pages are a great place to go to get some inspiration, and then you can make your own. And what I also did, I don't have it here in front of me, but I made a band uniform jacket. And what I did is I traced the cookie, and then I took my markers, and I was actually having Jasmine, who works with me, start decorating it. And so I kind of used colored markers so that I literally colored it so she could see exactly what I envisioned the cookie to look like. So that's another thing that you can do to play. And I know a lot of people do that. So, okay. So then with this tipless decorating bag, you always want to make sure that there's a single seam. You want to push against the seam. I do like to pinch it before I start to keep it nice and clean, because obviously that the royal icing dries pretty quickly. And the pressure when you're piping with the use of a projector is, very similar as if you're not using a projector, but you want to kind of look ahead as you're going. That's really the key, is you want to be fairly fast, but you also want to lift up and let that frosting fall on the cookie, so you're not dragging that piping bag on the cookie, because you want a nice smooth piping line. So I'll just go ahead and you can see the way I'm holding the bag. I don't want my hand over the top, because you can see, look at this, you can't see the image at all. It takes a little practice, but you want that piping bag to be a little bit off to the side, and you almost have to kind of trust. And if this is a little tricky, you can always start with the edible marker.
I prefer starting with the edible marker mainly because that is my issue, is my hand gets in the way of seeing the image. So, but again, I think it takes practice, and you're well versed at it.
Right. Well, and notice something, I'm not even following the exact shape I'm kind of doing my own thing. I'm giving it some extra fur. So I'm just really for the scaling. So, don't be so hung up on that exact design. Just use it as your inspiration and just freeform a little bit. So many, many times I'm not following the exact design of that cookie. So this is a great start. What I would do is I would flood this, and here's my finished product here. So I would flood this black, I would let that dry, flood it white, and then let that dry. And then I'm coming in and putting all the detail. The little fur here, I took some, after it was completely dry, I took a little bit of frosting and just used a little brush. But you can see, the ability of following a design, using the projector with any kind of image. So this little guy real quick was also just traced with an edible marker. So I kept this one aside because I want to actually use some paint and give this a little color. But you can see sometimes just on this crackle background, this was one of the 4 designs for the wedding. It really just popped. So they were and the last design was a paw print. Yeah.
So just a clarification for Lisa, who said which camera Lucida. The Lucida is a program. It's an app.
It's an app.
And the tracing is downloaded onto that app, and then the camera is connected, the projector is connected to the iPad. And so Lucida projects it onto
So here's the
if
app.
that makes sense for you.
I happen to have it in my navigation bar. So once it's downloaded, you can drag it to your navigation bar. And again, it has a bunch of different options down here, but it's the camera roll that you want to get to, your camera roll, because it's connected to your iPad. And you can see a lot of the different designs that I've used on this iPad from years past, from a long time ago. There's many of them here. So that is one way to do that. And what I'm going to do is just unplug the iPad. I want to show you with my phone. So I'm plugging in my phone. Okay. One of the things you're going to want to do with your phone is make sure you go to settings and this is with your iPad too, go to display and brightness and make sure that your, what's it called? Actually, what I'm looking for is, auto lock. Sorry. I was looking for auto lock. You always want to make sure that it's on never, because if it's on 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, what happens is when you're working, your phone's going to turn off, and that can get really annoying. So before you start, always go to your auto lock and just put it as never shutting down, but always make sure that you go back and reset it, because otherwise your battery's going to wear out. So that's a little tip there. But I want to just show you that if I have so here's my phone, it's connected. I go to my photos and I have I have the camera Lucinda on my phone as well. And here's that puppy dog, same thing, right? But look at the problem I have here on my phone. I can make the image bigger in camera Lucinda, but look, it gets cut off. So that's why I like to use my iPad. It's a much bigger display. So just keep that in mind, that sometimes it's not going to. Sometimes you can turn it this way, but depending on the design, it may not fit on your phone. So I do my first choice when it's charged. I always have to remember to plug in my iPad. That is my preference, actually. Okay. So I do have a couple other cookies here. So what I'm going to do is go back to, I'm going to show you the font. See where I put it here. Okay, so I have what's called Fonto. It's Phonto. So maybe Sylvia can type in the comments section the couple of applications that you can use So Fonto is one. Another one is Dafont, Dafont. And then another one is Space. Oh, let me look up that one really quick. I don't have that one on my phone. Again, these are free apps. It's called Font Space. So Font Space. It's got this little planet, Font Space. So
F-O-N-T.
Font Space. Okay. But I'm going to use Fonto right now since I have it on the iPad. So Fonto it's going to open. And this again is one of those apps where you can take pictures and import your pictures. But I'm going to go ahead and pick a plain image. Pick the plain image, and then I'm going to go ahead and use that plain image. So what you can do is I'm starting from scratch and I'm going to add some text. So I'm going to I'll just write in baby. So now I can align it in the center. I can size this so I can make it a little bit bigger. There are lots of fonts to choose from. So if I hit font, I can pick all sorts of different fonts. Let me see if I can find one that I like. That one's a good one. That's nice and big and bold. So I'm going to use that one. So same thing. What I have here is I want to take a picture of it or screenshot because I want that to be able to get into my photos. Okay. So whether you're taking a picture, like here's another thing I can do is like, let's say you see something and like I said, you've got the rights to it and you can go to your photos. So let's say this, my little hand lettering here, I can actually take a picture of my Canva, go to Camera Lucinda, go back to the library. Oops, go to my camera roll. And there's the baby. And again, I can turn it, I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller. So you can see there it is right on the cookie. Make it nice and big. So I'll start with this one.
So as you're doing that, Denise has just joined us. Says it's her first time watching, and her question is, do you use the projector to cut out the shapes of the cookie dough?
I do not. I did see that someone was doing that. I make my own cookie cutters, and so I don't need to, are you talking about hand cutting? That is very creative. You could, have an image or the shape, but no, what I do is I create that cookie cutter shape in a CAD drawing application, and then it is imported into as an STL file that's then connected to the 3D printer. So we're creating our cookie cutters with PLA plastic. It's a 3D printer basically. But yeah, that's a great question. But I have actually seen someone recently took the projector and put an image of the cookie and hand cut it out. We do hundreds and thousands of cookies. I would not be able to do that hand cut.
The other thing in a pinch, you could, instead of cutting each cookie using that projector, is to cut a stencil out of plastic and then use that to cut around each cookie, if you understand what I'm saying. Instead of cutting each cookie, you create basically a shape to set on the cookie and cut around it. I've done that in a pinch when I only need to do a few cookies. Here we do a lot of cookies and that doesn't make sense.
Right. So I'm going to show you another consistency. So I'm going to go ahead and use the black. I'm going to outline this baby. It's a nice thick, large font. And then I'm going to set it aside for just a little bit for it to crust over. And then I'm going to fill it with this pink, the soft pink. So we'll have a black outline with a nice pink. So you can see this is going to be a little bit looser. If you kind of think of hair gel, so a little bit looser than toothpaste, this is a nice flooding consistency. So I really do like this consistency. And a nice way to test it is, I'm not one for the numbering technique, but if you take a big dollop, it should fall. And then almost like ribbon back and forth, that is a really nice consistency right here. If you give it a couple taps and a shake, it will flatten out. So I'm going to have Sylvia actually put just a little bit in there, a bag for me, and maybe she can come over here and show how this tape dispenser, bam, works. So she's just taking a little dollop. And then I will demonstrate using and actually what I'll do is I'm going to put a little bit of black in a tip with a number 1.5 tip. So let's do that. Actually, I have a bag right here. I'm just going to switch out this tip for a 1.5.
That should be about enough for you.
Yeah, I just need very little.
Okay, so
Watch this.
So basically, twisting,
Ooh.
push down,
And it
and it's
seals
got
the
tape,
bag.
and it's sealed. It's
Love that thing.
wonderful.
Love that thing. Okay, so we've got our pink
And I need a plastic cover.
plastic cover. Yep, you always want to keep that covered. And then just if you could put a dollop of black in here. She's got the thicker black. So the 1.5 tips, let me just talk a little bit about this. The 1.5 tip and the number 2 tip are my favorite for hand lettering. I don't think I really use anything larger than that, honestly. So the 1.5, this is a PME tip, and unfortunately you can't get these in many retail shops. I've never seen them in a retail shop, so you have to go online. But they're really, really nice. It's a super fine tip. And the number 2 is beware of the number 2 tips. We were just talking about this too. These are both Wilton tips, number 2, but they're a little bit different size. So one almost looks like a 3. So you always have to just kind of be careful, you know, test out your tips before you start actually going to the cookie. And so what we did here is we've got a 1.5 tip with a plastic coupler. And let me just get this out of the way. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline this, and then we're going to fill it with the pink. So always before you go to the cookie, notice how I'm holding the bag. I have all the frosting in the palm of my hand. My fingers are applying pressure. Oh, somebody asked about the tape dispenser.
From you? No.
Yeah, well, no, I think Uline sells it, but go to the cookie community, Cookie Decorating Hobby to Business 101. In the guide section, there's a picture of it and there's a link there. So I think Uline sells it. There's several companies that sell it, but the tape dispenser itself is not very pricey. I think it actually is like $14, maybe $20. It's the tape that gets a little pricey, but it lasts a long time. It does last a long time, and they come in different colors too. But I like the white. Just keep it nice and clean. And they're really, really nice for our cookie decorating kits. Makes things go a lot faster. Okay, so I'm holding the frosting in the palm of my hand, and I didn't fill this bag too much, especially for hand lettering. You don't want to fill this bag too much, okay? And I'm getting the air bubble out. I can see we're at 7:22. We're definitely going to go over time today, but that's okay. We don't mind. Okay, so again, using that technique, I'm just going to turn a little bit on the angle so I can get a nice view at it. You can choose to work from right to left. I actually do prefer just, you know, old school, just doing my... And here's the thing, I don't talk very much when I hand letter. So a couple things as I'm doing this. It's an even pressure. It's very smooth. I'm not giving it a big dollop. So you want to touch down, but always pick up. You're not dragging that tip on the cookie. I'm giving it my own little flair here. And I'm wiping off. So right now I'm outlining. If I wanted to, I could have definitely used the edible marker first, because sometimes people struggle with decorating with the frosting bag right on the cookie. So if you're more comfortable doing the...
I think one thing to keep into consideration also is what color is your frosting and what color edible ink are you using. You can outline with a pen, but make sure your outlining is going to cover that if it's a lighter frosting.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't you don't want to be able to see that marker. So there's that baby outline with the black, nice and big and bold. I would not flood this right away, okay? One of the pitfalls you want to avoid is color bleed. And so just allow it to just ever so slightly crust over, because here's the deal. You get color bleed when one color, at least in my experience, when one color is a little thicker than the other and they're not dry. Because what happens is the one color is acting like a sponge. So it's pulling the moisture into the other color. At least that's in my experience. Really the only logical thing that I can come up with when I see that color bleed. And I've tested it, and that's typically what happens is when I rush it, I don't let it dry, let it crust over, and then it kind of bleeds a little bit. So you do want to make sure. So I'm just going to set this one aside for just a little bit. You can certainly speed up the drying process by putting a fan. You can use a dehydrator, you know, definitely. So I'm just going to go back to my camera, Lucinda. Go to my, here's my, I use Canva. Canva is another app. So I'm just going to go ahead and, this is a larger word. Oops, turn upside down.
There's a question on storing your frosting and how long do you save it. I mean, you need it airtight containers just so it doesn't dry out. Sometimes it'll settle and you'll find liquid in the bottom. If it settles too long, then you just have to mix it up again. For me at home, when I have frosting that I know I'm not going to use for some time, I can store it in my refrigerator. It's not necessary.
Right.
Here we go through the frosting quite quickly. So,
right. All right, I'm going to have, if you could just put a little bit more black frosting, I'm going to have Chloe put a little bit black frosting in a tipless bag, because the reason is, what I'd like to do is, see how it says Royal Icing hand lettering with a projector, tips and tricks. You can see that there's different thicknesses, and this 1.5 tip actually to me is still pretty thick. So I'm going to use my tipless bag to get even the softest pressure. I still want even a more thin line, so my tipless bag will allow me to do that. So this will be perfect for the lettering part, and I'll show that to you in a second here. Nope, I don't want to get this smudged. See, I told you I was going to take up a lot of room here. A lot of things here. So right now I have the one that I use for the dog. I have my 1.5 tip. I have not cut my pink yet, but then Sylvia is giving me one that I'm going to trim super, super small. There's that magical sound.
We love that sound.
We're easily amused here at Edible Impressions. It does not take much for us to, yeah, we have a lot of fun. Okay, scissors. Let me grab a scissors. Okay, so these tipless bags, you can get a super, super fine tip. I'm pushing against the seam so you get a nice round tip. And I'm going to take very, very, very little off. And you can see look how super, super thin that line is. Love these tipless bags. Okay, and I do not sell my bags. People have been asking. I did, if you're curious, I did order these custom made with my logo on them through Alibaba. It took a long time to get here, And they do have a minimum order, so a minimum order of 100,000 bags. And call me crazy, it sounds like, yeah, I could sell them, but we go through a lot of bags here at Edible Impressions. So unfortunately, right now, until I can get another load, I might in the future, but right now I do not sell the bags. But there are many, many companies here in the States that do. And so Bee's Baked Art is one that I have purchased from, and her bags are really nice. They work really well. She's a variety of sizes. Maybe Sylvia can type that in. I'm not an affiliate with her, but I just really like her products. Very responsive, excellent service, reasonably priced. And again, had I not purchased my own bags, it's Bee's Baked Art Supplies. I think she might have changed her name slightly, but I think if you put that in the browser, it'll come up. So she's been around a long time. Family-owned business. Yeah. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take this super, super fine tip that I have here, and I just want to show you how super fine you can get with your And what you do want to have handy if you don't have it is your little scribe. There was a little bit of still an air bubble in there. If it comes out a little squiggly, you might need to make a little bit bigger hole.
I think we talked about it in the last class that the advantage of using a tipless bag is it doesn't tend to squiggle as much as a metal tip does.
But I just want to show you that. Look how super fine that is with that tipless bag. You cannot get that with even your 1.5 tip. So I do really like those. It took me a while. I kind of like resisted the tipless bags, but now I'm absolutely hooked on them. So now you can see I'm going to use the other tipless bag for the lettering part. And there's a little bit of variation in the thickness. And this just really is a lot of practice. So it's that pressure piping. And you want to, with the thicker areas, give it a nice push, but then ease up but you're still pushing, but you're easing up for those little bit thinner areas. So I'll just do this one and you can kind of watch. So it's a very soft push. And then I'm going to give it a little bit bigger squeeze, a soft push to a bigger squeeze. So I'm exaggerating. And the beauty of, cursive when you're doing is you don't have to do all the letters at the same time. So I'll just show you as I'm going here. Super soft. So you can see I'm starting to get some thin and some thickness by the amount of pressure that I'm putting. Almost there. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea. Again, it does take a little bit of practice, but you can see that there's thicker and there's thinner areas, just to give you a little bit of an idea. Okay, same consistency, that piping consistency. Now I'm going to go ahead and I can actually turn this off for a minute. So I'm just holding the off button down. And it powers off. I just want to go back to this one. Certainly I could wait a little bit longer, but just for time purposes, I want to go ahead and show you how I fill this. I always get that air bubble out, but you'll see how giving a nice little squeeze. And actually, as I'm looking at this, it could have been even a little thicker, but I think it's working really well. Use that scribe to get those little corners. Oh, I do have to tell one story. Let's see if Sylvia remembers this. I'm sure she does. Oh my gosh, we've been doing cookies a long time. And this was well before all these gadgets. And we had done a large event. See if you remember which ones I'm talking about. And it was it was a square cookie and it had an angel with wings and it was purple. We literally, it was hundreds of them. And we hand painted them with a little tiny paintbrush. It took
a little fairy
it took
on each
a little
cookie.
it took the longest time, and then as things evolved, edible paper technique came out, and then stenciling came out, and I mean we've been doing this long before all these techniques, and we just look back. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous, and I love hand painting. Don't get me wrong, but when you're doing it for a large luncheon for 300 people, that took a long time. So be very selective when you have pick the technique that's going to work for the size of your order, and just make sure that you charge accordingly, because I can bet you 110% we did not charge accordingly. Okay, look how beautiful that is. So that big bold of the black with that baby pink in there is just so beautiful. So a great way to decorate this is if you could add in some royal icing accents if you want. Really, there's really fast and easy ways that you can jazz that up. So I'm just going to take a quick look up here at my notes just to make sure. So technique wise, you want to make sure that you have a scribe handy. Allow the piping sections to dry before you get onto the next one. You can actually use edible markers to, add some design. So like, let's say it's so cool when you do a little bit of both. So I could do something like, I'm just totally freehanding here, but
I'm going to just jump while you're doing that. There was a question I missed about cutting the tipless bag. You cut it straight across.
yes,
Not on an angle.
right. I mean, you
Cutting straight
can, the
across.
tipless bags, you can cut a variety of ways to create different tips, styles. But if you want to get a nice round circle, and particularly for hand lettering, I go straight across. So give it a pinch on the seam. Let me show you again. There's a single seam on these, so pinch against the seam, and then that will make a nice round tip. And start small because you can only go bigger, of course. You can't go smaller. And yes, someone said clean the scribe as you go. Absolutely. Because especially with these delicate colors, you don't want them to blend. So yeah, wiping that off is really a great tip. So that's awesome and wonderful. Okay, so I'm gonna, like I said, check my notes here just a little bit here. So, luster dust, it looks really good to accent. And let's see. So I'm actually gonna just move this over to my other station. So we covered quite a bit, but I do want to, before I sign off, I do want to quickly just go through troubleshooting a little bit with your projector because you know what? This ran smoothly, pretty smoothly, but things can happen. So I know some of the complaints have been, well, my projector turns off. There are a couple of the projectors, and I think the Kodak Luma may be this one. I read a little about. I read a little bit about it, but you might just have to fully charge that projector for the very first time to get it going, and then use that camera Lucinda if you're having a difficult time and you're not able to flip that image in the projector. It just may not have that capability. So consider that camera Lucida application. I know I keep saying Lucinda. So that's something you want to think about. The copy cake machine. I wish I would have known this, and I didn't know this when I owned it. So you know how the copy cake machine is that overhead projector type projector. And so what you have to do is you have to print out a picture or the design or your lettering, size it, you put it in the machine, and it basically projects down on your cookie. But what can be really frustrating is that if you don't have the right size, I remember time and time again, walking down the stairs, going to my office, walking back upstairs, making various sizes. But there is a little bit of a technique that you can do that if you don't have the right size, and it's off just by a little bit, what you do is when it's illuminated over your cookie, just push it to the very edge of that design. And then whatever the difference is, just measure it. And then you know how much bigger to make that image. That would be a huge time saver. I wish I would have known that when I was using that machine. Okay, so then the last couple things really quick. Again, if your hands are in the way, you can use the edible marker technique, or again, upper left-hand corner on an angle. That will help you not have your hand over the image. So just give that a try. When in doubt, if your projector's not working, unplug it and plug it back in. So, because sometimes they will freeze, sometimes they'll disconnect, sometimes the focus goes off. So just unplug it and plug it back in. Let's see. Okay.
Cash has added something I've not seen, PME glaze spray to set luster dust on dry cookies. Usually when I use luster dust, it's on wet frosting, and so it does stick.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah. PME glaze spray. Yeah. I haven't used that before, but thank you for that. Cool. Okay. So then post event, what I will do is we did post in the feed some of the supplies, but bottom line is your projector, your tipless bags, your metal tips or couplers. So a number one or number 2, make sure you have a scribe. Edible markers, I really do like the Wilton brand Food Writers, although the 2 I used tonight were a little out of ink, but I've been using them a lot. So I also do use America Color Gels. I'm not an affiliate with any of these companies. Sometimes I think I should be. Anyone out there, give me a holler. And then Sugar Prism, watercolors and acrylic. I love that company, Sugar Prism. So look her up, Michelle. Tell her Annette says hello. She's got some great products, particularly for paint your own and for painting on cookies. I tell you, that stuff dries instantly, does not smear. You can actually erase with it. It's really cool. And I'm just waiting for a little break in the action here. We've been doing a lot of corporate logos where I can just play with those paints that I have. So, and then I think, you know what, again, if you don't have a projector, there's no rush to get one. There are definitely techniques. So go back, watch the replay, April 27th. There were a lot of golden nuggets and a lot of different techniques for you to try if you don't have the projector. But I tell you, it's a great investment. And I think you will enjoy it. So thank you so much for watching live. Thank you so much, Sylvia. Come on over here, Sylvia. Here she is. Thank you so much. She will be back live, front and center, don't worry, for another episode of our free master classes. So thank you so much. Let's continue the conversation. I will review all the comments post-event. And please join the community, Cookie Decorating Hobby to Business 101. And Friday is Rapid Fire Friday. I love Rapid Fire Friday. It's something I do only in the group. I take 10 minutes every Friday, 10 o'clock Central, and I know it's been 15, sometimes 20 minutes. But what I do is I rapid fire.
Because you do love to talk.
I do love to talk. I'm sorry. I was an event planner for 24 years, so yeah. I mean, my kids will ask me questions, and about 10 minutes later, they're like, "Mom, that was a yes or no question." So yes, I'm a little bit more detailed than most. But anyway, and stay tuned. My next business-wise masterclass on May 18th. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to talk about yet. So if you have a suggestion, either private DM me or put that in the feed. So thank you so much, everybody. Happy decorating, and we will see you again all soon. Take care.